Hello everyone. On behalf of Women Night, I welcome you all to our second hangout on Google+. So before we proceed to our second hangout, I would like to brief you all regarding Women Night. Women Night rediscover, awaken, and share the message to cherish the gift of womanhood in this world. Womenite is a one-stop platform for all women-related issues, including lifestyle, healthcare, women entrepreneurs, social and civil evils, and making them technologically self-independent. At the same time, they are burning midnight oil to come up with solutions which can make the lives of women easier because we know that women are the pillars of our society. They want to see women at par with men or even more in domains of life because they are no less than men as it had been pictured in a patriarchal society for ages. They want to bring a change in society and in the perception of people's mind where they objectify women and are not given the same opportunities as men. No one can stop women to be technologically smart, aware of science and her surroundings and her rights. And there they are to prove that and let her and the world know her potential. So their slogan is for every woman out there, be the woman you want to be. So for topic for today's hangout is, are women really empowered or women empowerment is still a mirage? You might be listening to news, reading newspapers or magazine. You would have gone through incidents and accidents with women in India. While any other article on women's empowerment in India will take a look at our rich heritage and enlightened societies of the past where women are treated as equals. The concept of India in itself evolved quite recently, relative to the sum of its parts history. But the truth is that in the modern India, the woman has always been a second grade citizen, no matter what its esteemed leaders have said or done. It is hard to fathom how slogan moving the culture exchange of the world is when you find out that there are several places across the country where harmful customs of the ancient world coexist with modern appliances and thought. However, that may come as hardly any surprise to anyone who has lived in India. The dichotomy of society is something that can only be explained by a refrain from an old Bollywood song. It only happens in India. Yes, it is only in India that glaring and brutal gang rapes occur frequently in a state that is headed by a woman chief minister. Gender discrimination is the least of worries for women in India, known otherwise as the fourth most dangerous country in the world for women. Other instances of violence against women has an astonishing and grim variety to it, with acid throwing, domestic violence stemming out of dowry, rape, harassment, and an assortment of others. So, what actually is women empowerment? In the simplest of words, it is basically the creation of an environment where women can make independent decisions on their personal development as well as shine as equals in society. Women want to be treated as equals so much so that if a woman rises to the top of her field, it should be a commonplace occurrence that draws nothing more than a raised eyebrow of the gender. This can only happen if there is a channelized route for the empowerment of women. Though, thus, it is no real surprise that women empowerment in India is a hotly discussed topic with no real solution looming in the horizon except to doubly redouble our efforts and continue to target the sources of all violence and ill will towards women. Indian women's journey from medieval India to modern India has been quite eventful. The status of women in modern India is a sort of a paradox. If one hand she is at the peak of ladder of success, on the other hand, time and again, consciously or sometimes unwillingly, she has succumbed to other obligations that substitute her career. As compared with past women in modern times have become more concerned towards their education and career. But do they constitute majorly is the question. Though Indian women have proven themselves, they are yet to get their dues. There are many problems which women in India have to go through daily and gradually. Some of them accept it as their fate. The conclusion of few studies carried lately has left me in jittery that development and empowerment story is just a furor. A report published by World Economic Forum on 12th October 2010 mentions the fact that India is placed 112th position on a list of 134 countries in Global Gender Gap Index 2010. This indicates that the gravity of gender disparity with India is plagued. It also implies that resources, educational attainment, health, and political involvement is lopsided in India. Europe's Nordic countries remain global leaders in the campaign to close the gender equality gap. This news was preceded by another discomforting that top Indian companies are bitten by the bug known as gender disparity in top Indian companies. Similar imbalance has been observed. That is, women occupy only 5% of board position in country's top 100 companies. This came as a ramification of a recent study by Standard Chartered Bank along with non-profit organization Community Business and Canfield School of Management on 100 countries listed on the Bombay Stock Exchange in terms of representation of female directors on their boards. The study conducted survey on the top companies comprising the BSE 100 index. Just 59 directorships or 5.3% are held by women. These directorships are held by 48 different women. Okay. The inadequate gender diversity of boards bring to the fore that there is lack of representation for women on boards of leading Indian companies, which also means lack of different perspective in analysis and decision making. I think okay. This research is critical not only in raising the awareness of the need to increase women's advancement on the board level, but also give a thought that why this has not happened as a gradual and natural process where awareness towards education and career has not happened as a gradual and natural process when awareness and education has been quite decent. The percentage of women in corporate world has increased, but inequality remains. The most common cited reason for the small female representation on levels was that many women fall off the corporate ladder mid-career because family concerns. So here we see that family is an important or major reason for women falling off the ladder from the corporate world. Moreover, women are perhaps less visible in the corporate environment and as a result are not put forward in nomination process as often as men. This really intrigues me that the whole hullabaloo around women scanning the corporate ladder and getting more conscious about the professional life is disguised. Well, no disregard to the fact that women have become more focused in corporate world, but are they able to sustain this vigor till the end of their career? The primary reason may be women withdrawn as a concern shifts to family or kids. The study conducted in India was preceded by another study conducted in Hong Kong, and it's been observed that women in both geographies referenced how traditional family roles, conflicting priorities, and obligations can hinder the advancement of women professionally, and how women tend to be disadvantaged in networking and therefore visibility. There was one more global survey in 2009 in Chicago about women at workplace. An outcome mentioned was that women are overworked, overextended, overstressed, and underserved by business. Well, there lies a solution then. Is reservation an appropriate answer? I think that it will be unfair as it goes against merit proposition. A situation should be left as it to improve on its own. Women know the importance of professional position performance, competence, and broad sector experience. I believe that every individual has an urge to lead and succeed. So do women, but are not able to owing to some barriers. These include both the commonly referred to as glass ceiling and unacknowledged bias or set of attitudes in the workplace that prevents women from attaining leadership positions, but also the invisible filters that the infamous social norms that compel women to be above all a mother, wife, daughter, and daughter-in-law. Indian women have come a long way, but still another long way remains to be conquered. So, what are the challenges that are involved in women empowerment? There are several challenges that are currently plaguing the issues of women's rights in India. A few of these challenges are presented below. While a lot of these are redundant and quite basic issues across the country, these are contributory causes to the overarching status of women in India. Targeting these issues will directly benefit the empowerment of women in India. So, what are these issues? First, I'm going to list down all the issues and then we can work more on these. Education, poverty in the country, health and safety. These three, education, health, and poverty, have been the major challenges for women empowerment in India. Education. While the country has grown from leaps and bounds since its independence, where education is concerned, the gap between women and men in severe. While 82.14% of adult men are educated, only 65.46 of adult women are known to be literate in India. Not only is an illiterate woman at the mercy of her husband or father, she also doesn't know that this is not the way of life for women across the world. Additionally, norms of culture that the state that the men of the family is the be all and end all of family decisions is slowly spoiling the society of the country. Poverty. About a third of the country's population lives on less than 1.25 of US dollars per day. Poverty is considered the greatest threat to peace in the world, and eradication of poverty should be a national goal as important as the eradication of illiteracy. Due to abject poverty, women are exploited as domestic helps and wives, whose incomes are absorbed by the men of the house. Additionally, sex slaves are a direct outcome of poverty, as unearthed by Davinder Kumar. Third and last reason for what are the challenges for the women empowerment in India is health and safety. The health and safety concerns of women are paramount for the well-being of a country and is an important factor in gauging the empowerment of women in a country. However, there are alarming concerns where material health care is concerned. Maternal, sorry. In its 2009 report, UNICEF came up with shocking figures on the status of new mothers in India. The maternal mortality report of India stands at 301 per thousand, with as many as 78,000 women in India dying of childbirth complications in that year. This is such a large ratio. Today, due to burgeoning population of the country, that number is sure to have multiplied considerably. The main cause for the maternal mortality is anemia, sepsis, obstructed labor, abortion, toxemia. While there are several programs that have been set into motion by the government and several other NGOs in that country, there is still a wide gap that exists between those under protection and those not. Poverty and illiteracy add to these complications, with local quacks going ineffective and downright harmful remedies to problems that women face. The empowerment of women begins with the guarantee that health and safety guarantees of their health and safety. Now we're going to discuss briefly regarding what are the actions that have been taken. What are all the actions that have been taken to empower women in India? Millennium Development Goal. The United Nations Development Programme constituted 8 Millennium Development Goals (MDG) for ensuring equity and peace across the world. The third MDG is directly related to the empowerment of women in India. The MDGs are agreed upon goals to reduce certain indicators of disparity across the world by the year. While India's progress is in this front has been brave, there are quite a few concerns that it needs to cut before it can be called as being truly revolutionary in its quest for understanding what is women empowerment. Next action taken for to empower women is Ministry for Women and Child Development. The Ministry for Women and Child Development was established as a department of the Ministry of Human Resource Development in the year 1985 to drive the holistic development of women and health in the country. In 2006, this department was given the status of a ministry with the powers to formulate plans, policies, and programs, enact amends legislation, guiding and coordinating the efforts of both governmental and non-governmental organizations working in the field of women and child development. National Commission for Women. The National Commission for Women is a department. National Commission for Women is a department within the Ministry of Women and Child Development. It was set up exclusively to help women via the Constitution by reviewing legal and constitutional safeguards for women, recommending remedial legislative measures, by facilitating quick redressal of grievances, and by advising the Government of India on all policy matters affecting women. The website allows for online submission of complaints and fast redressal exclusively for women. Additionally, it is also a good resource of information for women, and the Commission is committed to helping out women in need. So, what's the road ahead? India is a country is as a country is still recovering from years of abuse in the time of the Raj and more years of economic suffering at the hands of licensed Raj. It is only that now that globalization, liberalization, and other socio-economic forces have given some respite to a large proportion of the population. However, there are still a few areas where women empowerment in India is still largely lacking. To truly understand what is women empowerment, there needs to be a sea change in the mindset of the people of the country. Not just the women themselves, but the men have to wake up to a world that is moving towards equality and equity. It is better that this is embraced earlier rather than later for our own good. Swami Vivekananda once said, "Rise away and stop not until the goal is reached." Thus, our country should thus be catapulted into the horizon of empowerment of women and revel in its glory. Indian women have come a long way, but still another long way remains to be conquered, and so does Indian society, which needs to give women an environment that bestows upon her fulfillment, freedom to pursue happiness and satisfaction, and work life balance to make right trade offs decisions. I'm sure scenario is going to move in the reverse direction in next 5 years. I'll leave you guys to think about this and come up and support this cause. Thank you.